Most men grow up thinking that if they show up, stay loyal, and give everything they can, the woman they love will automatically understand them, appreciate them, and stay by their side. But here's the truth nobody tells you early enough. Women don't fall in love with presence alone, they fall in love with emotional awareness. A woman feels long before she explains, and that's where most men get blindsided. We hear words, they feel energy. We wait for signs, they wait for emotional connection. And in that gap, misunderstandings grow, arguments build, and relationships weaken without anyone noticing. When a woman talks, she's not just sharing information. She's revealing her emotional world. She's telling you what she fears, what she hopes for, what she's struggling with. But many men respond with logic, solutions, or silence, because we were taught to fix problems, not understand feelings. And this is where everything starts to break. Because when she feels unheard, she starts to disconnect. When she feels misunderstood, she stops explaining. And when she stops explaining, she slowly begins to detach in ways most men don't notice until it's too late. A woman will rarely say, "I feel emotionally unsafe." Instead, she'll become quiet. She'll stop initiating conversations. She'll stop expressing affection. She'll begin to pull back, softly, subtly. Not because she wants to leave, but because she feels she's already alone emotionally. And most men mistake this silence for peace, when it's actually distance. What nobody tells you is that every woman speaks through behavior long before she uses words. If she's short with you, if she seems irritated, if she starts to feel different, it isn't random. It's her emotional language. She's not trying to attack you, she's telling you something is off. But men who listen only to words never understand the shift. They think, "She said she's fine," and assume it's the truth. But, "I'm fine," rarely means fine. It's the doorway to a conversation she wishes she didn't have to explain. And here's the part most men learn painfully late: women don't stop loving suddenly. They stop loving silently, over time, through emotional neglect. Not physical neglect, emotional. When she realized her feelings were invisible, she tried a little less. When she realized her vulnerability wasn't understood, she shared a little less. When she realized you were present physically but absent emotionally, she felt more alone with you than she would by herself. This is where the secret lies: a woman doesn't want a man who hears her. She wants a man who understands her without needing instructions. A man who can read the emotional temperature of the moment. A man who listens not to respond, but to feel what she feels. A man who pays attention to the shift in her tone, the change in her eyes, the slight hesitation in her voice. That's the man she trusts. That's the man she opens up to. That's the man she respects. And you might wonder why this matters so much. Because for a woman, emotional connection is the foundation of love. If she feels connected, she will give her heart. If she feels disconnected, she will slowly take her heart back piece by piece. Men fall in love through admiration and loyalty, women fall in love through emotional presence. And emotional presence doesn't mean overwhelming her with affection, it means being aware, consistent, and attuned to her inner world. The harsh truth is that many women leave emotionally long before they walk out physically. By the time a woman says, "I'm done," she's already been done for months. She simply didn't feel understood, valued, or emotionally safe. And the man she leaves often stands there confused, thinking everything was fine because he never learned to hear the emotions behind the words. But this doesn't mean you must lose yourself or bend to every emotional wave she has. It simply means learning to understand the unspoken, the emotional meaning behind the conversation. When she's upset, she doesn't need a solution. She needs connection. When she's distant, she doesn't need space, she needs reassurance. When she complains, she's not attacking you, she's asking you to understand her deeper needs. When she cries, she's not being dramatic, she's releasing emotions she's been carrying alone. The biggest mistake men make is assuming she will always be there, no matter how emotionally disconnected the relationship becomes. But the truth is, women don't leave because they stop loving, they leave because they stop feeling loved. They leave because they feel invisible. They leave because they feel emotionally alone. And by the time a man realizes what he missed, it's already too late. The lesson every man learns too late is simple: don't wait for her to break down to finally listen. Don't wait for distance to finally start paying attention. Don't wait for her to give up before you learn to connect. Learn to hear her heart before she stops sharing it. Learn to understand her feelings before she stops expressing them. Because once a woman feels emotionally safe with you, she will give you loyalty, softness, trust, and love that few men ever experience. And in the end, the truth is clear. Understanding the unspoken is the real secret to protecting your peace, your connection, and your relationship. Every man eventually discovers that a woman doesn't respond to what he says as much as she responds to who he is. Not the image he projects, not the confidence he pretends to have, but the energy he carries inside him every single day. Women are emotional mirrors, and this is something most men learn far too late. If a man is calm, centered, and grounded, she naturally relaxes. If he's insecure, inconsistent, or chaotic, she will reflect that same instability right back at him. She doesn't do it to punish him. She does it because emotional mirroring is how women connect, how they feel safe, and how they understand the man they are with. And here's where men make the biggest mistake. They assume the woman they love will always be the same, soft, loving, loyal, supportive, no matter how their own energy changes. But a woman doesn't stay the same unless the man she's with stays emotionally steady. She adapts to what she receives. If he's confident, she feels secure. If he's distracted, she becomes anxious. If he's unsure of himself, she becomes unsure of the relationship. The truth no one teaches men is that a woman's behavior is often a reflection of the emotional environment the man creates. Not because she's weak, but because she is emotionally intuitive by nature. Women feel shifts in energy long before men notice them. A slight change in tone, a lack of enthusiasm, a moment of hesitation, she senses these things instantly. And if she feels a disturbance in your energy, she will adjust in a way that confuses you. She may withdraw, become defensive, become overly emotional, or suddenly seem distant. To you, it feels random. To her, it feels like a response to something she picked up in your energy. A man who is grounded becomes a source of peace. A man who is emotionally unstable becomes a source of stress. And she will mirror whichever one you give her. This is why some men experience women as affectionate and calm, while others experience women as difficult and unpredictable. It often depends on the emotional environment the man sets. But here's where it becomes complicated. Most men don't realize they are projecting insecurity. They think they're being quiet when really they're being distant. They think they're being strong when really they're being emotionally unavailable. They think they're being protective when really they're being controlling. And a woman mirrors all of this, not always in words, but in her reactions. When a man is confident, she becomes playful. When a man is kind, she becomes nurturing. When a man is present, she becomes affectionate. When a man is secure, she becomes feminine. This isn't about dominance or weakness, it's about emotional balance. A woman wants to feel the man's strength, but not the kind of strength that comes from ego or aggression. She wants the strength that comes from emotional stability, self-control, and clarity. The kind of strength that says, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and I won't let the world shake me. When men lose that emotional anchor, a woman senses it immediately. She stops trusting his direction. She stops feeling safe. She stops opening up. And gradually, she begins to reflect the instability she feels in him. This is why some relationships suddenly feel like they're falling apart even though nothing big happened. Something small shifted in his energy, stress, insecurity, confusion, and she mirrored it before he even realized it existed. Most men don't understand this until she starts to pull away, question the relationship, or emotionally shut down. By that time, they're confused, frustrated, and hurt. They wonder, why is she acting like this? What changed? The answer is often simple. You changed first, even if you didn't notice it. Internal changes always show up externally through behavior, tone, and presence. And women are the first to pick up on these shifts. But here's the beautiful part. When a man decides to take control of his emotional world, everything about the relationship transforms. When he stops reacting out of fear and starts responding with intention, she feels it. When he stops overthinking and starts trusting himself, she relaxes. When he stops seeking validation and starts valuing himself, she respects him at a deeper level. Women don't need perfection. They don't need a flawless hero. They need a man whose emotional stability creates a space where they can be soft, loving, expressive, and honest. The more grounded you become, the more she blossoms. The more peaceful you remain, the more she feels drawn to you. The more secure you are in who you are, the more she feels secure with you. And this is the part men learn too late. If you let stress, insecurity, jealousy, or emotional chaos take over, your woman will feel it immediately, and she will distance herself to protect her peace. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she cannot anchor herself to a man who is drifting emotionally. Her mirror will reflect whatever she receives, and if that reflection becomes painful, she begins to pull back quietly. Assuming she will always stay, even when your energy becomes unstable, is a mistake many men regret. Because women don't leave a man they love instantly. They leave him emotionally first. They stop sharing as much. They stop being playful. They stop talking about their day. They stop making future plans. They reduce themselves piece by piece until one day, the love is still there, but the connection is gone. A woman gives her best to a man who is emotionally consistent. But when she has to guess who he'll be today, calm or angry, present or distracted, confident or insecure, she loses trust. And once a woman loses trust in a man's emotional world, the relationship begins to fade, no matter how loyal or loving she is. The secret is simple: control your energy, and you create stability. Lose your energy, and you lose the connection. A man's emotional world sets the entire tone of the relationship. When he is steady, she is soft. When he is sure of himself, she feels safe. When he protects his peace, she becomes drawn to it. In the end, understanding that she mirrors your emotional world is not just about improving your relationship. It's about becoming the kind of man whose presence naturally inspires love, respect, and peace. One of the biggest misconceptions men have about women is believing that if she likes you, she will say it openly. That she will confess, clarify, or make everything obvious. But women rarely express interest with direct words. They express it through subtle, consistent, emotional signals. Men who expect verbal confirmation often miss the truth that was right in front of them. And men who assume she will always be interested no matter how they behave eventually lose the connection without even realizing it. A woman doesn't reveal her heart through declarations, she reveals it through effort. Through small, meaningful actions that show she wants to be part of your world. But this is where most men fail, because they are looking for loud signals while women give quiet ones. She won't say, "I want you." Instead, she will show it in her behavior long before she ever puts it into words. If she laughs more with you, if she texts you first sometimes, if she asks questions about your life, if she remembers the small things you said weeks ago, that's her interest. If she tries to look her best around you, if she becomes nervous or playful, if she gives you her time, these are not random behaviors, they are intentional clues. Women rarely invest time, attention, or vulnerability in a man they don't care about. But here's the painful truth. Men often ignore these signs because they assume she will keep showing them forever. They think she will keep giving, keep trying, keep reaching out, keep making effort no matter what he does in return. And this assumption is where interest dies. Because a woman only continues effort when she feels her effort is valued. When she feels appreciated. When she feels seen. The moment she feels taken for granted, her effort begins to shrink quietly. Not dramatically, not angrily, but gradually, until one day, she simply stops trying altogether. Most men only realize her effort was love when it's gone. They remember the good morning text she used to send. They remember how she used to check up on them. They remember how she used to make time. And when those things disappear, they wonder what happened. What happened is simple. She showed interest through effort, but the effort wasn't matched. At some point, she realized she was doing more than him, caring more than him, trying harder than him, and women refuse to chase a man who doesn't meet their effort halfway. Women don't lose interest suddenly, they lose interest silently, through unmet emotional needs. Through moments where they gave and received nothing back. Through times they tried to connect but felt ignored. Through conversations where they opened up but the man didn't really listen. And eventually, they turn off the part of themselves that used to care so deeply. The sad part is many men think she's just acting different, or changing. But she didn't change, she adjusted to his lack of effort. A woman's emotional heart is like a flower. When watered consistently, it blooms beautifully. When neglected, it doesn't die instantly. It withers slowly. It loses color gradually. until nothing remains. This is why paying attention to effort is so important. If she takes time to see you, she values you. If she reaches out, she's thinking of you. If she supports your dreams, she believes in you. If she makes space for you in her life, you matter more than you think. These things are not small, they are love written in actions. And when these things stop, it's not because she suddenly doesn't care. It's because she cared for so long without feeling cared for in return. Men often lose good women because they wait for big expressions and ignore small ones. They assume her kindness is just her personality, not a sign of interest. They assume her consistency is normal, not a reflection of her attachment. They assume she'll always be there, until one day, she's not. Women don't walk away without warning, they walk away after 1,000 unnoticed moments. Moments she tried, moments she stayed, moments she hoped, moments she waited. Moments he didn't see because he believed she would never leave. And here's another truth men learn too late. Once a woman stops showing effort, you cannot force it back. You cannot demand interest. You cannot talk her into caring again. Because a woman's interest isn't intellectual, it's emotional. It grows from how you make her feel, not from what you say. When she stops feeling wanted, safe, appreciated, or valued, the emotional connection weakens. And once that connection breaks, a woman rarely rebuilds it. But when you match her effort, something powerful happens. When you respond to her messages with the same enthusiasm, when you show interest in her world the way she shows interest in yours, when you value her presence instead of assuming it, she opens up more. She becomes softer, more affectionate, more devoted. Women give their best to men who meet them at the same level of emotional investment, not higher, not lower, but aligned. That's why understanding her effort is the key to protecting your relationship. Because effort isn't about grand gestures, it's about showing up consistently. It's about listening when she speaks. It's about remembering the little things. It's about making her feel seen. It's about giving what you expect to receive. When both people invest, interest grows. When only one invests, interest dies. In the end, assuming she will always try, always give, always chase, always show interest is a mistake that breaks more relationships than anything else. Her effort is not guaranteed. Her attention is not automatic. Her consistency is not something you earn once and keep forever. A woman continues effort only when she feels emotionally nourished. The moment she feels neglected, she begins to withdraw, not because she wants to, but because she has to protect her peace. Effort is the clearest language of interest. Value it while it exists, because once it fades, it rarely returns. Every man eventually discovers that a woman's tests are not meant to break him, they are meant to understand him. They are emotional checkpoints, quiet questions that she asks without words. Are you who you say you are? Are you stable? Are you dependable? Can you protect both of us from emotional chaos? But men who don't understand this take every test personally. They get offended. They get defensive. They think she's attacking them. And in reacting emotionally, they fail the very test she needed them to pass. A woman doesn't test a man to hurt him. She tests him to feel safe with him. She tests because vulnerability is risky for her. Opening up is risky. Loving a man deeply is risky. Giving her trust is risky. The moment she cares, the moment she decides you matter, she becomes emotionally exposed. And that vulnerability is terrifying. So before she goes deeper, she needs to know who you really are beneath the surface, not the man you pretend to be when everything is going well, but the man you truly are when things become difficult, uncomfortable, or emotionally charged. This is why her tests appear during moments when you least expect them. A small disagreement, a sudden mood shift, a moment of silence, a question with a hidden meaning. She doesn't do this consciously to manipulate you. It's instinctive. Women test stability the way men test loyalty. It's built into their emotional nature. And here is where men make the biggest mistake, assuming she will stay even if they fail every test. They think her love guarantees her patience. They think her affection guarantees her acceptance. They think her loyalty means she will tolerate anything. But a woman only stays where she feels emotionally secure. The moment she feels she cannot rely on your strength, she starts to pull away. Not dramatically, not loudly, but silently. Men often don't even notice it happening. A woman doesn't test to see if you're perfect, she tests to see if you're stable. She wants to see if you can stay calm when she's emotional. She wants to see if you can stay grounded when things get stressful. She wants to see if you'll choose confidence over insecurity, clarity over confusion, purpose over impulsiveness. Because to a woman, emotional stability is safety. It's protection. It's attraction. This is why reacting with anger, defensiveness, or insecurity only proves her fear true. When you raise your voice, she sees instability. When you panic, she sees uncertainty. When you become jealous or clingy, she sees insecurity. When you shut down emotionally, she sees weakness. And with each failed test, her trust decreases. A little more distance. A little less softness. A little less affection. Until eventually, she begins to detach emotionally. But when a man responds with calmness, everything shifts. When he stays centered despite her emotions, she relaxes. When he listens instead of reacting, she opens up. When he stands firm without yelling, she feels protected. When he stays grounded even when she's upset, she feels safe. This is the type of man a woman respects, the man who cannot be shaken by temporary emotion. Passing her tests doesn't require intelligence. It requires presence. It requires maturity. It requires the ability to stay emotionally anchored. And ironically, the more grounded you become, the fewer tests she feels the need to give. Because tests are not about control, they are about reassurance. If she's confident in your emotional strength, she stops needing to check it. Now here's the painful truth men learn far too late. When a woman stops testing you completely, it's usually because she has already emotionally checked out. Testing means she still cares. Testing means she still hopes. Testing means she still sees your potential. When she stops testing, she's no longer trying to build a future with you, she's preparing to leave. But men often misunderstand this. They complain, "She's always testing me," not realizing that these tests are her way of trying to deepen the relationship. Of trying to understand the man behind the behavior. Of trying to feel emotionally protected. A woman's tests are not traps, they are opportunities for connection. And most importantly, tests are not about passing or failing, they are about consistency. She's watching whether your actions match your words. Whether your behavior aligns with your values. Whether the man she fell for is the same man she is standing in front of today. Women fall out of love not because a man changes, but because he changes for the worse. He becomes jealous. He becomes insecure. He becomes reactive. He becomes emotionally distant. He becomes someone she can't trust with her heart. A woman doesn't walk away suddenly. She walks away after months of feeling like she cannot rely on your emotional strength. She walks away after feeling unheard. After feeling unprotected. After feeling like every test ends in disappointment. And the man is left wondering what happened, not realizing she gave him 100 chances to show her the stability she needed. But when a man masters emotional control, when he knows how to stay calm even when the situation is heated, he becomes a foundation she can lean on. That is attraction. That is leadership. That is masculinity. A woman wants a man who can remain himself even when she's emotional, not someone who breaks, panics, or explodes. She wants a man who can keep his peace, because his peace becomes her peace. There is no need to argue. No need to prove yourself. No need to dominate. No need to control. A woman doesn't want control, she wants confidence. She wants direction, not domination. She wants clarity, not chaos. She wants leadership, not dictatorship. She wants a man who won't disappear into his emotions every time hers surface. In the end, her tests aren't the problem, your reactions are. A man who understands this becomes harder to shake, harder to replace, and easier to love. A woman feels safest with the man whose emotions don't explode, collapse, or fluctuate wildly. She feels safe with the man who knows himself deeply. And she stays with the man who chooses stability over ego every time. Just one thing to remember, the moment you believe she'll stay no matter how you respond is the moment you begin to lose her. When you finally understand this one truth about women, that their emotional world is constantly shifting, evolving, and responding to the energy you bring, you stop making the mistake most men make, assuming she'll always be there just because she once said she loved you. Women are not statues placed in your life, they are rivers. They move, they feel, they change, and they need to feel something to stay. Not drama, not chaos, but presence, certainty, and emotional connection. And when a man fails to understand this, he loses her long before she physically walks out the door. A woman won't leave you the day she stops loving you, she leaves you the day she stops feeling you. That's why one of the deepest lessons I wish someone told me early in life is this: never take for granted the emotional reality of a woman, because it is the very foundation of her connection to you. Most men think love is a one-time achievement, something you win, and then keep like a trophy. But women don't attach to you based on what you did once, they attach based on what they feel consistently. Her heart doesn't operate on memory, it operates on presence. And here's the truth: when a man stops showing up, a woman starts drifting away. Slowly, quietly, invisibly. You won't notice it at first. She'll still talk to you. She'll still sit next to you. She'll still cook, still clean, still play the role she's always played. But internally, she's withdrawing. She's observing. She's collecting data. And the moment she feels like she's loving you alone, she begins rewriting the story she once wrote with you. This is why men always say the same sentence when she finally walks out. I didn't see it coming. But she saw it coming for a long time. Women rarely leave impulsively. They leave emotionally, then mentally, and only at the very end do they leave physically. By the time she packs her bags, her decision was made months earlier, long before you realized anything was wrong. And this is where the mistake becomes fatal. Men assume women stay because of history. Women stay because of how you make them feel today. The problem is, many men become emotionally lazy once they feel secure. They stop affirming. They stop engaging. They stop listening. They stop protecting the emotional space between them. And when a man goes numb, a woman goes unnoticed. When he stops choosing her, she stops blooming. A woman cannot thrive in the shadows of a man's indifference. She needs presence, not perfection. She needs effort, not excuses. Most men don't understand that women communicate their emotional needs indirectly. She won't say, I feel disconnected. She'll say, you don't talk to me anymore. She won't say, I'm scared you don't love me the same. She'll say, why don't you look at me like you used to? She won't say, I feel alone in this relationship. She'll say, we never spend quality time together. And if you miss these signals, you miss your chance to keep the relationship alive. Here's the reality. A woman doesn't want you to fix everything. She wants you to feel with her. A woman doesn't expect mind reading. She expects effort. A woman doesn't want perfection. She wants presence. And presence is the one thing most men fail to give. But presence is not just physical, it's emotional. It's being tuned in. It's being aware. It's noticing her. It's understanding when her tone shifts, when her eyes dim, when her energy drops. Women communicate in emotional frequency, not logical language. When you understand the frequency, you understand the woman. The biggest mistake a man can make is assuming a woman's silence means she's fine. When a woman stops complaining, stop asking, stop checking, stop trying, that is not peace. That is resignation. That is her emotionally packing her bags before she ever touches a suitcase. And once she reaches that point, very few men can bring her back. But here's something deeper, and most men never realize this until it's too late. A woman leaves emotionally because she feels unprotected emotionally. Men think protection means money, shelter, physical safety. But the protection women value most is emotional safety. She needs to feel like she can open her soul to you without being dismissed. She needs to feel like you care enough to listen, even when you don't fully understand. She needs to feel like her emotions matter to you, not because you agree with them but because you value her. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she flourishes. She becomes softer, warmer, more feminine, more expressive. But when she feels emotionally neglected, she hardens. Walls go up. Distance appears. Arguments become more frequent. Affection fades. Respect erodes. Love dries up. And then men say, she changed. No, she adapted. Women don't change randomly, they change responsively. So what's the real secret every man learns too late? Protect your peace by protecting the emotional foundation of your connection with a woman. Because losing a woman doesn't happen when she leaves, it happens when she stops feeling safe with you. Not safe physically, not safe financially, safe emotionally. And when you understand this, truly understand it, you no longer take her feelings lightly. You no longer assume her presence is permanent. You no longer wait until she pulls away to start giving effort. You no longer ignore her emotional world because you're too busy, too tired, or too distracted. Instead, you stay awake. You stay aware. You stay intentional. Show up even when it's uncomfortable. Connect even when you're stressed. Listen even when you don't have the perfect answer. Reassure even when you think she already knows. Because in the end, love isn't lost in a single argument or a single mistake. It's lost slowly, silently, through small moments where a woman feels unseen. Never make the mistake of assuming she'll always be there. What keeps her there is how you make her feel today. And that's the truth every man learns too late. Ending line. If you want lasting peace, protect the emotional bond before it breaks, because once a woman stops feeling you, she stops needing you.